G'day, 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 g'day. Welcome to this episode of Gravesend Australia Diecast Salvage. Today we are playing with some Matchbox Bedford TK trucks. These are the iconic ones from Matchbox 1 to 75 regular wheeled series. We have the tipper and we have the BP tanker. This is my entry to the Diecast and Modellers Community monthly event, and the monthly event is called More Than 4. So let's take it off the roundabout and let's have a closer look at them. So again, I'll say welcome to the channel. Welcome if you're a first time viewer to the channel. I'm very happy that you found us. So I hope you enjoy your stay. For those that have been with us for a while, you know what's going to happen. We're going to go through a description as to what these vehicles or what their problems are, and I'll try and do something with them. Sometimes I'm a little bit funny, sometimes I'm not. Sometimes we have a good results, other times not. You'll just have to wait until the end to find out. Anyway, let's get back into these vehicles. Okay, it's the BP tanker from Matchbox. Petrol tanker, made in England by Lesney. This one's missing its rear wheels and axle. It tips, has the engine, no glass, no interior. That's the first one. Here's our second one. Still got the tipper, still got the engine, no glass, no interior. They never came with them. This one has half a broken wheel, so we'll need to do something about that, besides stripping and repainting them. Here is the tipper. It does have its tailgate. It does have all its wheels. The front part does not tip because it has the slot in there which holds in the wheel and base. Overall, besides the paint chip, it's not in too bad a condition. Here is our second tipper. It does tip. It is missing its tailgate. The pin is loose on the tipper in that sometimes comes off on an angle. The rear axle is the part that holds the axle in is broken, so we're going to have to do something about that. On it. Otherwise, again, not in too bad not too bad condition. The tail boards aren't folded in or anything like that. So it's time to take these bad boys apart. See you in a moment. So here are our vehicles pulled apart. I used the burr tool to take off one of the ends of the axles on all of them. Now this vehicle over here, I'm leaving that alone as it is. Why I'm leaving it as it is, it's original. It really doesn't need any work done to it. Yes, it's got paint chips on it, but that's character. This one had the broken piece down here on the axle, so we need to fix that. We need to do the tailgate, and we need to replace at least one tyre because it had a crack in it. This one had a broken tyre, so we need to replace it. And this one was missing 2 tyres. So we've got plenty to do. Plenty to do. All right. I think we might head off to the stripper venue. So, who wants to come and see some strippers? So here are our items stripped. We're going to take some things away and work on them a little bit later, like our axles. They need to be cleaned up. They're all the same size, which is a bonus. So I need to find one for the tanker. This is the pin for the tipper. Needs to be cleaned up. And we'll clean up all the tyres, what we have. And of course these broken ones, they can go in the bin. So we have ways of making new tyres, so that's why I'm not too worried about that. We'll put that to one side. We'll get back to them later. So now I'm going to do my usual here we go. Don't need that one just yet. The brass bristle brush. And go over the casting of each one, and then I come with the scourer so we take it from that to shiny. So I'll continue with that off camera, and we'll bring you back at the next segment. All I can say is back in the 50s and 60s, when they made these toys, even the early 70s, they were master craftsmen to get from a 1-to-1 scale, to get the amount of details into roughly about a 1/64. Let's see if she'll focus on us. We have the Bedford right across the front there. Sorry about that. We have the grill. Come on, focus. Right. Then we have the fuel tank. Need something to focus on, I understand that. But the amount of details in that, and also into the tipper. All the bracings on there. But when you look at the at the rail. It has the leaf springs marked in. There we go. We have our battery boxes. We have the hinges to open up that flap in there. Like I said, we've got the Bedford. We've got its logo on the front there. We have the grill. Like I said, the leaf spring. Now the chassis on this is slightly bent, but when you put the tipper body on it, it looks straight. So I'm not even going to try to straighten that up. The only thing I'm going to try and do is to repair that for the axle to sit in. But we've got other things to do before that. So we'll catch it next segment. So there's a few things that we need to make. 6 tyres for here, 6 tyres for here, and this one requires 6 tyres. Now we know we had 2 broken tyres, so we need to make some more. We need to make 4 tyres. So how are we going to do that? We're going to 3D print them. That's what we're going to do. Plus we need to make a tailgate for that as well. So let's go for a ride on how we can 3D print some tyres and a tailgate. I'll catch you over at my computer. Well, here we are at my printer. Now when we go to the next screen, you probably see some lines across your screen. That is not your screen. That is just the way that the camera is picking up the computer screen, because it's constantly flashing at 60 Hertz. So what do we need for 3D printing? We need a file. We can either design our own using a CAD or computer aided design program, but I'm not at that stage yet. So hopefully we'll find some files that somebody else has already done, and so we can download. It's another form of, let's say, reproduction parts, like you can get on eBay, Model Supplies UK, Recovered Toy, model car parts, Cliffords, you name it, that make reproduction parts. Most of them do these in white metal, and some of them, well, if you've been with me for a while, you know what I think about them. Anyway, what do we need for our 3D printing? We need what's called an STL file. And you could go to Google, right? And you can type in, of course we're dealing with Lesney, and then STL, and hit enter. You can go that way, and of course there's a whole myriad of things that you can go through. Or if you go to this top site called Yegi, this will look for 3D files for you. Now I've already taken the liberty of typing in, just had to answer a message just then, my apologies. So you can type in Lesney Matchbox, or you can refine it down to just Lesney, right? It will change the screen. Here Here we have the Matchbox 14mm tyres, and that's usually, it's like for the Foden tipper, the king size. This one here, the Leslie Matchbox 56A trolley bus replacement tyre. That's like the Moco tyre. You can make a Matchbox sign. Matchbox number 16 Badger Radar. So you've got, that's the Rollermatics. I've got two of those, so I might get that file later. This is the Matchbox Turbo Fury that has the two spinning wheels on the back. Again, that's another Rollermatics. But that's not what we're after. What we're after is the tailgate for the Matchbox Bedford tipper, which is this one. If I go back to my previous screen, because I already started looking, that's the tipper. And we're also looking for the 11mm tyre. And how do I know it's 11mm? By getting my vernier calipers, and I'll take that bright screen away from you so you'll be able to see it. That says 11.2. That's close enough to 11mm for me. So you can, I always like to open them up in a new tab. Same thing with that one, a new tab. And that's taking us to Thingiverse. There's lots of files on Thingiverse or Cults 3D. All sorts of places where there are files to download. I don't particularly like websites that ask you for cookies, because what happens is that you'll see ads for all over the place, plus also hackers go into via cookies, and you can easily get sort of, hackers can find you that way. Anyway, this is the Leslie Matchbox 11mm tyre. That person has printed them, and by looks of it, that person used what's called a PLA printer. I have what's called a resin printer, and this was designed by Lee, who used to be known as Time Rider, now has his channel as Wee Little Cars. He's been into diecast restorations for about 4 years, and he's done very well. So I followed him for a fair while. So a shout out to Lee, Time Rider, for providing these files. They're free to download, and we'll have a look at the tipper, because that's the truck that we're doing. That is the tipper. This was done on the Elegoo Mars 2 Pro. They used rafts. Right, who was this? This was a fellow by the name of Dinehart. Again, shout out to Dinehart for allowing us to download and use his file, his design. So, download onto a USB drive, and then we can take it over to, well, before we can take it over to the 3D printer, we need to put it through a slicing program. So let me set that up and we'll bring you back. Okay, before we can use our 3D printer, we have to be able to save the file onto a USB drive and put the USB drive then into the printer. Some printers can work over a network, a wireless network. You can send them over that way, and some you can send via the internet or via the cloud. depending on where it is. My printer doesn't have that function, so we need to save it to a thumb drive. So we now need a slicing program to help to change the language of the file that the printer understands. Now, when you purchase a 3D printer, it usually comes with its own slicing program, and my one was the Anycubic. But through suggestions from other people who've used 3D printers, they either use the chit box or shit box or the light cheese slicer. They all do the same thing, just like if you have a Mini Minor to a Rolls Royce. Both vehicles do the same thing. They have 4 wheels on the ground, they have a steering wheel, and they have a nut behind the wheel. But they are subtle differences. The same thing with the slicing program. There are subtle differences. The main one that I've been using has been the chit box, and it gives us a build plate. Now, before we add any files, I'll explain a little bit about build plate. They design the build plates in the software for you to understand. If you're using a PLA or FDM printer, which is the filament type printer, your print is built this way. It goes from the plate and it gets built up there. If you're doing resin printing, it's done the opposite way around. Your build plate and your print gets built this way. So it's a little bit, if you're new, it's a little bit hard to understand, but you shall see that later on as to my meaning of it. So let's go back to what's called home. We need to import our files. So we go to open. We're looking for where you saved the file when you download it from Thingiverse. This is the tailgate STL file. That's the tailgate. We don't need to, it says the model is undersized, shall we scale it for printing? In this case, we're going to say no. And that is our print. It's flat on the bed. Because that's showing us it's all green, so that's all good to go. I'm just going to move it over to the side because now we need to bring in our tyres. So we go again to open. We go and find our tyres. And in my case, I have, where did I save them? In rims and tyres, Matchbox, and we were looking for the 11mm tyre, which is this one down the bottom here. No. And there's our tyre. Now, what we're going to do with the tyre is, because we need 4 tyres, that's only one. And the easiest way to get the tyres in is to make copies. But before we do that, we're going to put some supports on this tyre. And before we do supports, we're going to angle the tyre. I know, my mind is a bit crazy at the moment. So if you've been with me for a while, you know I'm crazy. So we've angled the tyre to a 45-degree angle. We're going over to our supports. I use a middle strength support, as in the past I've tried light and it prints the supports, but it didn't print the tyre because the tyre was too heavy. I found that the middle was better. I'm going to say auto support, and this is what it has given us. It can deal with a couple of extra supports, so we're going to add them in. One there. Once you've had a practice at this for a little while, you'll get to know where you want your supports. That should be enough for that. We can zoom out. We come back over to our main screen, send it back home. Get out of that. Just move that over to here. All right. So now we need another 3 tyres. So instead of having to drop a tyre in, redo the supports another 3 times, all we do is do a copy. We tell it we want 3 tyres, click on apply, and there they are on our screen. They already have the supports. And there's our tailgate. All right. So now we're going to select everything. We're going to tell it to, down the bottom here, we're going to tell the program to slice it. And the slicing is layer upon layer upon layer as it builds up. Now, this is telling me that we're using the normal resin. It's going to use up 2.9 mils, or just under 3 mils of resin. Its weight is 3.2 grams. That's for all of it. And at a cost of 0.0890,483 cents. Right. The time to print, approximately 38 minutes or 39 minutes. That's what it's telling us. We need to still do one more thing. We had to look for what are called islands. Islands are not so good because it's a waste of things. It has found 2 islands. So now we need to check them out as to where they are. So we go up to here. I'll move that screen up a little bit. And what that's telling us, the islands are in the 4 tyres. So that's this over here. When I bring it in, it's all got to do with supports. So we can leave them in. If they were red like this, then we would need to delete them. So I'm going to be happy with that. We now save the file. Now it now saves it into the language that the printer understands. We're putting it into our USB drive, which I've named it 3D Prints. We're not finished. I've just realised we're not finished. So I'll cancel that. For the simple reason I say we're not finished, because Time Rider was a very nice fellow for us customizers, so to speak, that he's also designed an interior for these TK, for the cabins. So that's what we're going to do as well. We're going to put in some interior. So excuse me for waffling on. Didn't mean to keep you for that long. I've got to find my stuff again. Get ready. There we go. That's the tailgate. Bedford truck interior. And there's 1, 2, 3. You can add things that way as well. All right. We can move them around if we want. All right. Let's have a look underneath. See what's green and what isn't. Back home. All right, so what we're going to do with those ones that are highlighted there, we go over to supports. Auto support. I don't think it's really going to be necessary, but I'm just doing it for the safety. We want to take the supports away. This one I want to take away, take away, take away. The reason why we have on the side here is because you can't print in thin air. So going back to our normal screen, remember that our print, we print this way, upside down. So this is how it looks like when you come off the build plate or when it comes out of the printer. All right, take that back home. Let's go Control A again. Just reslice it, because they'll take everything into account. We'll just do another detection, and it should be just the tyres again like last time. Yes, the same as last time. We can go save, and I'll take you over to the left hand part of the screen. Alright, this is how it's built. This is what's called a base layer, which holds everything onto the build plate, and then it goes up in layers. So each one is a layer, and that's what your printer, how your printer works. And in the resin printer case, it is upside down. It is built like that. So you can preview how your print is going to go before you even start printing. If you're not happy with something, you then, so you redo it. All right, I'm waffling on. Let's put this the right way. We're going to save the file, like I said, back into our 3D print. We're going to make it I'm just going to call it Bedford TK truck. Click on save. It now saves it onto the USB drive. Once it's done that, we can then go over to the 3D printer. Yes, it's done. Excellent. So that's the end of the computer part of it. So let's get over to the 3D printer. Okay, the hardest part we've already done. That was getting the file downloaded. We sliced it. We put it on the USB drive. The USB drive is now in our resin printer. From here, we go to print. You select the file that you're after. There's only one print on that file, so we can print that one. As you can see, we have our tower gate, 4 tyres, and our interiors. We press the go button, and I'll just take the top off for the moment. You'll see the print or the build plate go down, and that's going to go swimming into our resin. And that's going to bob up and down until our print is completed. There we go, we go into our resin. Our screen here will light up the layer that it's going to do while I put the lid back on. And if you look at the bottom of the screen, it'll tell you how many layers and the length of time that we're doing. So that's now you walk away. This is only a fairly short print. There are prints that can take up to 3 days. It depends on what you're printing. This is only a short print. So that's just printed its first layer. There's our second layer. The first 5 or 6 layers are usually about 25 seconds each. And we'll bring you back when the print is completed. Okay, our build has finished. So we just unscrew the top. We carefully build our plate down. We're going to let some of the excess resin drip off before we put it into that bucket over there that's got IPA in it. Isopropyl alcohol for a wash. And just shaking a little bit more off. So there's our build, our tailgate, our tyres and our interiors. So we're going to open up this container. Get that to sit in there. Now this is a wash. It's like a wash machine. Now what some people do is a pre-wash. I haven't set that up as yet, is to stop that getting so dark or cloudy. They do a pre-wash, just a small tub, IPA, or if you have the water washable resin with a little bit of soap and water. Now this works like a wash machine. It will spin the IPA one way, then turn it around the other way. We'll set it for 3 minutes. We'll do that. While it's doing that, we'll put the cover back onto this. So from here we can either put the resin back into one of our bottles, into the bottle that it came in, or we can leave it in the vat covered. But you need to stir it every couple of days to keep it fresh, and the fit film as well. Now they do sell on eBay and Amazon and things like that insulated covers, that have that to stop any further UV light coming in, depending on where you've got your printer set up. All I'm using is a cheap supermarket cooler bag. It is enough. It does exactly the same thing. It cost $1.99, I think it was, from the supermarket, where on Amazon and eBay they're going for about $34 for exact same thing. So anyway, bring you back when we change that over to the curing. So see you in a moment. All right, we have our build plate and our project out of our IPA bath. We now need to get it off the build plate, and we're using a metal scraper. And I always like to use the bevel side to get underneath the project. Sometimes it comes off easy, sometimes it doesn't. I'll just set it back on there for the moment, because we need to set that up by putting the turntable on. I'll turn it up the right way. See, not prepared, Michael, not prepared. All right. Bottom is dry, sort of, from the IPA. We sit that in there. We clean up our build plate. We set it back into position. Have it ready for its next job. Now that we have that in there, we need to put the cover on because it won't work without it. We change this from wash over to cure, and I like to set this one for 20 minutes. Some people do it less. I like to put 20 minutes and press the go button. It's saying something's not right. There we go. The cover wasn't on properly. Lights are up. So we'll bring you back in roughly about 20 minutes. So here are our items. They're out of the cure machine. We now need to take them off these supports. Now we can try and pry them off with our fingers. They come off nice and neat. There's the copy tyre, and there's an original. So Lee from the Time Rider or Wheel Little Cars, he's done an excellent job on making copies. Just got to do a little bit of cleanup because I'm rushing this a little bit as per usual. There's our tailgate for our tipper truck. We'll have a quick look to see if it fits. If I can get my fingers to work. Come on, fumble fingers. There we go. Exactly like our normal truck. So again, thank you for Reinhardt for your contribution. Now the hard part is going to be these to get off. I'll do them off camera, mainly because of the steering wheel. I don't want to break the steering wheel. So bring you back in a moment when I've got these off. So here we have our 4 interiors. Do we need 4? Well, yes and no. We only need 3 interiors. So we'll take one away because we're putting an interior in this, interior in this one, interior in that one, and because I'm leaving the other one original, we're not going to put an interior in it. Now, one of the downsides of 3D printing is when you use supports. This is normally waste stitch, but I keep them because there are other things you can do with them. You can put them in dioramas, as in a sort of a forest, paint it up. Sometimes even these little bits and pieces can be used for pillars. Right, if you have a broken pillar or something like that. Because it's only a small one, but if you're doing large items, you can cut them up. So, still many uses for this. So it's not completely wasted. So I'm going to put that into my container that has all these supports, and it might get another use. Anyway, waffling on. So the next time you'll see these, that will be most likely in primer. Still got to wash the tyres. So we'll put them into a container. Wherever I'll put the other container, it's got the axles. when I find that, I'll put that in. There it is. It's in there. There are my axles. So I'll put the tyres in there. Do a bit of clean up on those ones. I'll put them in there as well. Then I can carry on with those. See you at the next segment. This is just a reminder as to what I started with at the beginning of this episode. And here we are. Now, here we are with the reveal of our DMC More Than 4 event. So what did I have? I had the Matchbox TK Bedford tippers and the TK Bedford tankers. One of the tippers I've left original because we had one that was broken to do our customization with. So let's have a look what else we did besides stripping and repainting. We've 3D printed interiors for all the vehicles, and that's what you can see here. And we've made it so that it can tip in and out. We've made the, thanks to Lee or Time Rider, for the STL files for our 3D printer so that we can make the tailgate and the interiors for our lovely vehicles, and for Deinhardt for replacement wheels. They are all rollers, as you can see. We painted the rear end and the tops of the fuel tankers. Now this wasn't a tilt cab, but we can do that. We fixed up the axle holder on the tipper, and we've done some detailing on the headlights and grille and front bumpers on our tippers and our tankers of all our TKs. So hopefully you enjoyed this video as much as I like giving it to you, and hopefully we'll catch you next time on Gravesend Australia Diecast Salvage. Bye for now.